Like, I'm a little interested.
I wasn't at all interested. And I'm like, don't fuck the best friend. Don't fuck the best friend. Don't fuck the best. No!
Hello, Damsels. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Kristen.
Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Damsels After Dark. I don't remember how we were doing this. We were trying to do it differently to be more flowy with it.
I don't remember either. But we're doing what book? I don't remember.
We're doing another wonderful, wonderful fan fiction. We're diving back in, as you can see, even though it's backwards on the camera. I am in my Hermione era.
Yes.
I don't think I'm ever gonna leave.
Probably not.
And we are reading this week. Well, we did read this week. Recommends the Battle Scars by Onyx and Elm.
Yeah, you know, we just decided to go right back into fanfiction. It seems to be like one of the favorites of our episodes, so well, why not? You know, it's definitely something that you talked me back into anyway. So
yeah, when we read Manacles and you get past the like depressive state after that. I think maybe we read one more book, but then I dove right back in. And we read Manacled together. I got my other friend into Manacled, and then the rest, you guys just left onto other islands, and I was sitting here like, hey guys, hey, you should really read this one. Hey, you should really read this one. And they both just abandoned me on Hermione Island.
I got really sucked into Brooklyn and Ash, so
yeah.
I really did.
But finally, I had to, instead of just convincing Kristen, I had to actually put it on our schedule and say, no, Kristen, you are reading this book.
And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. It's definitely a good book. So.
Yeah, it is. And so just as a heads up, we will put the PDF version down here. The author, for reasons unknown, at least to us, took it down from AO3. And so you can't get the other versions that were available on AO3, but it's really easy to Google it and find the PDF, so that's why we're going to throw the PDF down in case somebody wants to read it as well. We do have the EPUB version, but we don't want to publish it because we don't know why the author took it down, so we want to be as respectful as possible, but also we love this and we want to spread the wealth to everyone if we can. So all that to say, if you want to read the EPUB version, you can email us and we'll send it to you, but other than that, the PDF version is linked down below. Yeah, so without further ado,
let's jump into it. Anyways, we haven't been back for like a couple weeks now, and we keep saying that we're going to stay on track and schedule, but we just don't. Things happen, obviously. But yeah, we're back now. It's been a couple weeks, and I think we're starting off strong with these couple episodes. We're going to be doing this one, and then the next one will be the Mortifying Ordeal. Draco the Mortifying... What is it?
Yes,
it's such a long title.
Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love or Falling. I think it's Being in Love.
Being in Love, I think so too. So they're both good reads, and then we're gonna dive into our huge series that's going to be finished, the Gold series.
Yeah, the Plated Prisoner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna start off pretty strong. Hopefully we can stay on schedule this time around.
Yeah. To be fair though, we already filmed this episode.
Yeah.
What happened though is that it was so hot that our camera just could not handle it, and the entire episode was just glitches.
Yeah, which was very sad.
Yeah, it was like straight 10 minutes of like still framed or then crazy glitches, and then our mics did some funky stuff. So,
but that's how our episodes always go though.
It wouldn't be the Damsels After Dark if we didn't have
always have some
audio, visual. All kinds of issues. I don't know, any issues, name them.
Oh, the mic issue that I just completely didn't even put my mic back on.
Yeah. She changed shirts one episode and we didn't have a whole mic.
I know.
Did we post that episode?
No, we never did.
No, I think that was
we just watched it. The Book of Living Secrets.
Yeah,
we didn't end up doing that one. Sorry guys, we didn't, but
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it was a book favorite anyway.
Yeah, and it literally comes down to like, well, do we produce a half-assed shitty episode or do we just redo it?
Yeah.
And I think that we almost just posted this one, but also, as Kristen mentioned earlier, everybody has flocked to the Manacle episode, so we really wanted to do the fanfiction episodes right, so here we are again. But I'm excited, it's worth it. There's been enough time anyways to make it feel like we're not really re-recording.
Yeah, the only problem is that it's been a while since I read it, and I've read like 7 books since then. so I don't really recall too much. But the good thing is that we're not retelling the whole synopsis of the book like we used to anymore. We're just going to tell our favorite and hated parts, and we're going to give you a brief overview of our rating. That's pretty much what we do now. So
Yeah.
if you stick with us, you'll know the difference between our other episodes. But oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh my
more
God.
deep dives.
Yeah. The only thing is though is like I'm sitting here trying to explain my notes and I'm like, what? I don't remember everything.
Well, we can start off with the summary. So essentially this fan fiction brings us all the way back to Hogwarts. And it's after the war, the Order 1, which is in contrast to Manacled, you know, if you read that. So this is a different take on when the Order wins. Everybody has to come back to school because, of course, they didn't finish their last year.
Yeah.
And so it's from the point of view of Hermione. But then you get journal entries from Draco throughout it. So essentially, Hermione is dealing with the aftermath of what it feels like to have won the war but lost greatly personally, like her friends and her family. Of course, she's in the Gryffindor house where everybody's just sort of moved on and like
Kind of just act like they won and that was the end of anything. Like they didn't have to worry anymore, or they could just go back to normal. The war's over. We won. Pish posh.
And yeah,
much.
we lost
Yeah.
people, but we won, and so we can get back to normal.
And that's not how she's feeling. And obviously, there's still people who are the opposite side of the war who are forced to go to school, but on probation.
Yes.
And they're being heavily watched. So, like, they have a different perspective, and there's a whole bunch of bias going on towards them being there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I realized that in a lot of the fan fiction, you know, canon isn't always a big thing, but this one still stuck true to canon. And I would imagine that if they did have to go back to school, it would be very similar to these kinds of interactions. Obviously, Hermione doesn't end up with Ron. This is a Hermione. So they did show that Hermione and Ron kind of did get together for a little bit, but she didn't really want to be with him. So
Yeah. So what ends up happening is that Hermione is again dealing with essentially the PTSD and all the trauma, and then she finds a kindred spirit in Draco, who is also sort of dealing with all of the trauma that came along with that. And also, as Kristen mentioned, he is one of the people who are on probation, and the probation is that he has to write in a journal these prompts, because the Ministry of Magic has said that they are allowed to sort of re-enter society, but they need to go through this rehabilitation program in order to repent for their sins. And
those
so
journal entries are fucking. I didn't like them at first. Don't get me wrong. I think this book is great, and I didn't like them at first, and it took me a little bit to get into it, but I started to really like them.
it's a good peek into his head without being a full-blown POV.
Yeah.
Because he just says some outlandish shit. I loved them. Maybe off the bat they're a little weird because they almost sound a little bit not like him, but as you get to see him in this version, they fit his character really well.
Also, he is like late teens. But he's not. I don't think he's in his 20s yet. So like, it's a younger version of that troubled, trauma-induced Draco. So like, it's not going to be like in Manacled where he's an older guy where he's got his like
A little bit more
his
refined.
and his facade is like honed to his skill set he's trying to accomplish and stuff like that. This is like he's all over the place. He's mad. He's angry, but he's trying to like still live in this world. You know.
Yes.
I want to say is his mom still alive in this one?
Yes, she's on house arrest.
Yeah, that's right. She's on house arrest too.
And also he what was I gonna say? He's very toxic. Like their relationship is super toxic. Both of them are toxic.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a non-toxic relationship and like a sweeter for this is not it. This is
not
a full-blown toxic relationship. They are both physically abusive towards each other, and mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
They're just two teens who don't know how to deal with the feelings that they're having, both toward each other and both just in life in the aftermath of war. So they take it out on each other a lot.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, obviously, this is fantasy, it's not real life, but in the book world, I'm obsessed with this Draco. I love this toxic Draco. He does some things that are just outlandish.
Yeah.
That have pissed me off.
I agree.
I accept it, and I'm like, yeah, you did that, and it was kind of hot, but also like, damn, it was a little fucked up.
It is a little. They're both fucked up.
I was just about to say, but Hermione does some cringe stuff.
She's pretty fucked up. Reading this sometimes I'm just like, god damn, but at the same time it's like, well, this is what you expect when you're reading this type of fan fiction. So I liked it. You just got to be into this world in the first place and know that that's what you're getting into. Like Crystal said, it's definitely toxic. It is one of the most toxic relationships I've read this year.
But it works so well for them. It
does. I don't think their toxicity made them better.
It did.
That's what's crazy about it. So like that, I don't recommend that shit in the real world. Mm-hmm. Like no toxicity is gonna make you a better person than later. But to be honest, is that they're so they had so much trauma happen to them. They were just trying to deal with it, and their toxicity they were trying to handle ended up making them see through each other's bullshit and each other's problems, that they were able to call each other out on it. Mm-hmm. So that's where their toxicity came into play, and then that they were able to like adjust and fix themselves every time.
And their toxicity was really and truly rooted in the love that they had for each other. So like while they would do crazy things to each other, at the end of the day there was a reason for why they were so angry. Yes. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to figure out. They're teenagers. Yes. They're teenagers right after the war. Of course, most people shouldn't be in a relationship right after that. No. But they happened upon a relationship. It wasn't like they wanted it. You could tell they both did not want it originally. Yeah, they fought tooth and nail against it. Yeah. I will also say
hormones.
The hormones. Yeah, the hormone. The hormone.
Yeah, the hormones in this book.
I will say too that the dynamic of people's reaction to their getting together was also a really interesting element to this, because obviously you're taking Hermione and you're putting her very publicly with Draco in the school, so everything is a little bit more elevated. Everybody's feelings on their relationship are super elevated, so I liked this element a lot. And then I will say also that most stories you want to embody the main character, but Hermione is wild and fucking crazy. She's unhinged. She's so out of pocket, and I felt like I really enjoyed this book. If you just are a passenger princess and you just you're like the nightmare in Two Twisted Crowns or One Dark Window, where you're just living in the back of her mind and you're just appalled. You did that? I can't believe that. But yeah, let's see how this plays out. Like that was literally the entire book.
I have to say though, some things that she did, I'm just like, yeah, I would have done that. But I am willing to admit that not my whole life have I been an untoxic person.
No, she floored me with some of her nonsense. And I'll get to it more in our spoilers, but she does one thing where I was cringing. Like, girl, why did you do that? Why am I getting secondhand embarrassment for the decision you just made right now?
Yeah, that happened quite a bit too.
Yeah, so it's bad. But overall, Kristen.
Oh, I love the book. I gave it a 5 and just the overall rating, and I gave it a 3 for spice, because even though it was spicy, it didn't overtly become raunchy, or I would say excessive. He or she wrote this book, I'm not too sure.
Neither.
They wrote the right amount of spice with the right amount of detail. I didn't feel like when they were the smut was in it, I didn't think that the smut was more geared towards smut. It was geared towards their toxicity in their relationship, showing that the smut is like how they interact with each other. Yeah. It kind of goes hand in hand. So to have smut for the sake of smut, that was not this way for this book. It was useful to their personality, their character, and so every time they did, it was just or not even sex, just their interaction with their tension. It was there was always that push and pull, and I felt like that was great. So even though I rated it as a 3, it's only because I'm not rating it as the whole book was spicy. It was that's how much spice was in the book, and that isn't all that it's about.
Yes, agreed. I also gave it a 5 out of 5. This is one of my favorite Hermione's. The spice is The spice is the best shit I've ever read.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's my favorite spice in all of the books, published, fan fiction, all of them. It's great.
Yeah.
And like Kristen said, it's not overly done, like to goriest detail, but it's perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't go out of my way for books specifically that are spicy. In fact, when you put too much spice in it, I'm not interested. Adeline,
Get bored.
Zayd, I'm over the spice when it becomes too much. This was perfectly done, and in fact, it kept me wanting more. Every time it was over, I'm like, when can we get the spice again? Which I have never experienced in a book before.
Yeah, and that's why I gave it a 3, because it's like I didn't feel like there was enough, but it didn't need to be more.
Yeah, no.
Even though we wanted more.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
The scenes that were there were like, whoa, wow. This is teenage Draco?
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's because of hormones. Like, that's why.
Yeah,
like,
I guess, but he was doing
like,
some shit that I was like,
oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
wow.
he would say where he was constantly doing it throughout his teenage years.
That's true.
He's getting it on with many places and many girls.
He was well versed in some things, and
I mean, how do you become a refined Draco if you aren't teenage Draco?
That is
he learned
true.
somehow.
He definitely did. Yes, he did. So, anyways, the best spice ever. The book is great. Like, hands down, every part of it was just appalling enough, just interesting enough, just like everything. And like it has a mild story to it towards the end.
Yeah.
Which is it's interesting enough. Like I didn't hate it. It didn't it felt like, I mean, as with most of these, right, they start with the idea that people want these two characters together, and then you build the atmosphere around, and sometimes that can go terribly wrong, i.e. any of the majorly written smut books that we've read. People want this fantasy to come true, and then they write that, and then they build a world around it, and it's flat and it sucks. But this was perfect. Even though it wasn't a huge, deep story, it was still good. It ended beautifully, too. Like, the wrap-up was great.
I have to admit, though, no spoilers in this, there is the part in the book where I was getting so anxious because I didn't know if Hermione and Draco were going to end up together. Mm-hmm. And it was giving me that anxiousness. Like if you read Manacled and you got that anxiousness towards the end where you're just like, are they going to be safe? Are they going to be... I was the same. I was like, are they going to... What's going on? Are they not going to be together? Are they going to be together? So it's like, I had that anxiousness. And I'm not going to tell you whether they are or not because that's part of the book experience. Mm-hmm. Especially if you want spoilers. But yeah, you'll get that anxiousness. You're like, what is going on? That's not why I'm reading this.
Yeah, it does kind of push the limits there at the end.
Yeah.
But perfectly done.
And if you want to know what I'm talking about, listen to the spoilers. Mm-hmm. So because I will talk about it.
So all in all, 5 out of 5. If you're in the Hermione world or you're just planting your feet in it, this is a must read.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would actually want to say I would read this before Manacled.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree because Manacled is just really heavy.
It is really heavy. I mean, we obviously didn't do it that way, but like, I feel like because not only is Manacled heavy, but it's an older version of Draco, mm-hmm. And like it's nice to know that the canon isn't switched up. So if you read Harry Potter and you kind of want to just dive into a Hermione that keeps canon, this is it. Yes,
and the characters in this feel very authentic.
Yes,
like Harry feels like Harry.
He's such a sweetheart,
and Ron feels like Ron.
Yeah.
Ginny is great.
Yes.
She wins Best Friend Award. So they carry over in here really well.
And that's why I'm saying it's a simple, easy, like canon read continuation. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's kind of not canon because Hermione and Ron are together. But I think this is one of those HP canon fanfiction runovers.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that if you're not ready to dip your toes into all that is Manacled, that this is a good place to go. And this is also a good place to test your waters for a toxic Draco because he's mostly toxic in these fan fictions, and
mostly
this is probably a good starting point.
Yeah, because
to experience that.
Extremely toxic in Manacled.
Yeah, but in this one, well, at least in the very beginning.
Yes.
In this one, he is really toxic, but he also does some like subtly really vulnerable romantic things, so it sort of keeps this level of not so toxic, even though he does things that are really toxic.
Yeah.
But yeah, Manacled, like the first part 1 is just toxicity.
And you're wondering, why am I reading this? They're supposed to love each other.
When does this start getting romantic and lovey-dovey? Really never, but...
It really doesn't, no. That's why this is a good one.
This is a
good one to read after
I would say
Harry Potter.
So anyways, I think that kind of wraps up. It's a 5 out of 5 across the boards for both of us, which I just feel so vindicated after I dragged Kristen through the Adeline series.
Oh my god, you're bringing that up again. I forgot about those.
I had to redeem myself, so I gave her 2 Hermione's that she had to read, so I'm happy we tops this one off with a 5 out of 5. 3 out of 5 again for Spice, so yeah, overall, fantastic.
Great. I'm actually really happy she had to read this one.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when you're like, I need you to read this, I need you to read this, and then it flops.
Yeah.
So I feel great. I'm high on cloud 9 right now. But Kristen, I would love to know your favorite worst part. So obviously we're going into spoilers.
So my favorite parts. Okay, now see, this is what I mean by I've got to read my notes, so stay with me. It's been a little bit. One of my favorite parts that I wrote is just the connection that Draco and Hermione really there.
Yeah, I was about to say you could just go.
The connection between Hermione. They have that. What's the word I'm looking for? They're both of their inability to just move on from the war. They bond over that, and everybody that, in my opinion, Hermione wouldn't really get over the war as fast as Harry and Ron would, in a canon. I know that might not be agreed upon with a lot of people. Some people might think that Harry had a harder time, but I believe that Hermione did because she doesn't have her family anymore. Yeah. So, and then you got Draco, whose I think father died in this one, or is he in Azkaban? He died. I think he died.
Yeah.
And his mom is like in house arrest or whatever. But Draco doesn't really have a family to connect with. So they just kind of come together, and I love how that they're trauma bonded. Not trauma bonded to each other. I mean, it kind of is, but like trauma bonded because of what they've experienced. So I like that their whole connection. And I also really love the library scene when Hermione gets drunk and it's laced with truth serum, and she goes to Draco, who's in the library, and they have this intense like sexual tension scene. Yes. And then she figures out what the hell happened. And then she just runs off, and it gave me One Dark Window vibes, Two Twisted Crowns. It gave me with Elm and Ione. It gave me those same vibes. I'm like, as soon as I read that, I texted Crystal. I was like, Crystal, tell me why this is Two Twisted Crowns all over again. Because same thing, same experience I got. I love that scene. Yeah. It was just, it's fantastic. And then I love that right after their first encounter, this first sexual encounter, Draco puts her in Slytherin robes.
Yes.
I love and she's like having to go around, and I think it was Ginny was like, why are you in Slytherin robes?
She had to walk outside of the hospital in her Slytherin robes.
Oh my god, I just love it. And then like, okay, I got a few more other parts that I'm just going to throw out there. When Draco had to read, Harry had to read Draco's letter to Hermione because he was in prison, and he's just like reading the intricate details of their sexual life, and he's just like, he could have not said that. But Draco's like, you have to read all of it or she's not going to fucking believe it. And he even says that to her.
The way you moan, the sounds you make. He's like,
and Harry is so sweet. So he's like really trying to be there for her. And he just tells her like, all you had to do was ask. I would have been there. He's such a sweetheart. I mean, she was so worried that her friends were not going to be there for her. But like...
And to be fair... Some were not.
Well, I mean, it is Draco.
I know. I get it. You can't be upset at them. But
no, if my friend was telling me she was dating the most toxic motherfucker that was on the opposite side of the war, like I'd be like, "What are you fucking doing? You crazy lunatic!" Yeah. So it would take me a little bit, but I would end up being more like Ginny. I'd be supportive, but I'd be like, "What are you doing?" I get it. Why? What's going on? So yeah, they got Harry, and then when Draco ran from Hermione. I forgot. I'm reading this. I'm like, yeah, because he was like on top of like they were kind of like, I won't say on top, but like they were arm in arm. And Hermione got so jealous and upset. She was going after Draco, and Draco was like, oh my god, oh my god.
He even took off running.
Yeah, he like bolted.
I love that.
That part had me cracking up laughing. And then, of course, just the ending when Theo was able to get the ring, and they all went and saw Pansy. That didn't happen. No. And like when Theo got the ring to see Pansy after she passed away, which by the way is my sad part. This is that
Yeah,
part.
that
Can't
is
do
that part.
But yeah, the ending was beautifully written. I loved the ending.
Yes.
After I got past the part that I didn't like.
Yes. So are those all of your favorite parts? Yeah.
That's the gist of it, yeah.
Okay, so I'll go into mine. I will second your library scene because it's beautiful. There's something for me that I'm like obsessed with sexy moments that are hilarious, and this was one of those because she's really battling with the shit that's coming out of her mouth and her not understanding. Like, she's drunk and then she's saying some shit. She's like, wait, did I just say that you were beautiful? Wait, no, wait. In this weird kind of way. Wait. I love that.
That true serum. I would use that so much in the real world. If that was okay. I would put that shit in everybody's drink.
I love that. And then, of course, like, they're heavy making out up against the bookcase, and all of it was just sublime. That it really does need two full. What's the word? Like, thumbs up, I guess. Fucking,
yeah.
Yes, you achieved success during this scene. I loved it. Another scene, I will say, this is a love-hate part for me, but this was one of those moments where I was just secondhand embarrassment through the roof when she fucking steals this journal from Draco.
Oh my
and
god,
then,
that is so cringy.
is it Parvati or Poverty? Parvati. P-A-R?
Yeah.
Pavarti. Thank you. I can't. Whatever. I just glaze right past when I'm reading it. When she brings that journal to her and puts it on the desk while Draco's behind her, like,
and he's like seething rage.
oh my! The entire class, he's just staring at her. And first of all, I can't even believe she fucking took this journal. And it doesn't say it right in the chapter.
No.
When it opens up, she's just reading through it. And she's like, oh, and then I closed the purple journal, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Why do you have this?
How did you get it? So it's like at the moment she got it was like when they were having that sexual tension moment.
Yes.
So like she took it, and I had to reread it twice.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, did she take it?
That was the moment where I moved to Passenger Princess in this, and I was like, this is all you, girl. Like, this is where I'm along for the ride right here.
I would have taken it too, to be honest. I would have taken it, but I would have been so like I would have been beside myself that somebody had showed me that I left the book behind. I would be like, oh my god.
The thought of taking the journal would never have, it may have crossed my mind. I would never have put this into action. So
I probably would have.
I was so taken aback. I was shook beyond belief that this girl, that she had it, that she took it. I was like, girl.
Not only did she take it, like, she read through a lot of it.
Yes.
And then did she keep it on her bed or something? Like, oh my god, it's so embarrassing. Like, I would have taken it, but I would have taken it to be, I don't know, just a bitch about it, a vengeful bitch about it. I wouldn't have taken it to, she was curious. It wasn't she took it
yes,
for
okay,
revenge.
I can see.
She took it for curiosity. I would have not taken it for curiosity. I would have took it and be like, fuck you, asshole.
Okay, I could see that.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think that I still would ever have done that, but I certainly could understand more like, okay, I'm going to take this shit. All around though, it was horrible, but I loved it.
She's been wanting that book. Every time she saw, she's like, "What's in that book?
What's he writing? He's scribbling away in that book." Yeah. Oh my god.
Too much.
It's too much. So then to curtail on this, right after this, when they have their fight outside, when he obviously he chases her down and gets it. Yeah. She meets him back at the lake later, and he's in the water chilling himself down, and then she goes there to apologize, but he ends up calling her the C word, and so she punches him instead, and then they make out, and she's like tasting his blood and stuff, and this was the moment where I was like, you see, this is how you do blood play, Addie and Zayn.
Yes.
Because I was real into this, not into theirs.
Yes.
But yeah, right here I was like, ooh. Shit, because this was a cruel kiss. This wasn't even like a romantic.
No.
Like they were angry kissing each other, and that just made it so much better. I loved it. It was so good. Another one of my favorite is the Halloween dance when he is in costume and she's in costume, and he's specifically like angling himself on the floor so that he gets partnered with her to dance with her, and then they straight out make out in the middle of this fucking, and everyone's watching, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, you guys are just kissing and making out in the middle of the dance floor. Oh my god.
But the thing is, after that, she makes, every time something happens, Hermione makes it kind of fucking weird. They end up saying that it's somebody else.
Yes.
So it's like, why do you keep doing this shit? She was making me frustrated.
I did like, though, how that ended up, because she ended up saying it was somebody else, which then pissed him off, and so he was angry writing about it in his journal about like how I think he even says something too about like, consider what you'd fucking do if your girl was pretending to be with a Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
I even highlighted that in my notes, like, your girl.
Yeah.
This is bringing out some shit in you. So you know what? I'm into the fact that she even had to lie. I mean, I get why she lied. She's straight out making out with Draco. Nobody knows. Like.
And they like everybody was trying to figure out who this dude was, and they only could think of one guy. Because I mean, Draco stands out, and there was only one other guy that had the same hair color. I mean, he wasn't even as tall as Draco. He didn't even have the same build, but they couldn't think. They were so against the idea of it possibly being Draco that they would never have even thought it was Draco.
Yes, didn't even cross their minds.
No.
The other one, which is probably my favorite part, aside from the library part.
Yeah.
But so when they're in I think the boathouse, and she tells him after they're like arguing back and forth that he says like, what do you think, that you're a prize or something? You think that I would choose you? And she's like, I would choose you.
Yeah, and it stops him in his tracks.
It stops him. Now I like that part because we end up coming back to it when after she chases him from Pansy, they end up in like the back kitchen room or something, and they throw all these plates around and break everything, and then he pulls like a piece of glass from the chandelier that broke, and he makes it into a necklace, and he gives it to her, and he says like, this is for the girl, or that is for the person who told me she'd pick me out of a room of hundreds if she ever decides to meet it.
Yeah,
and
she doesn't.
Fuck you, Hermione. That was a big fuck you moment. Like, how could you do this to him? Look at him.
Yeah.
Like,
because she never chose him. Just like every time she lied about who she was seeing, and it frustrates me because like, I mean, I get it that she doesn't want to tell her friends the first couple times, but like, I mean, it was getting so deep in. By that moment, she should have resolved that.
Yes.
Like, this is the thing between them.
Like, you pick him or don't.
Because
like,
you said you would.
You said you would.
So why are you not picking him then? I know that was
that killed
frustrating.
me. Yeah. The fact that he said that, like, if she ever decides to meet it, here it is. So I'm like,
that's a good part.
Yeah, it was a great part. So, and then I'll say my last favorite part, which is not my last favorite part, but for the sake of the episode, it will be the hospital scene.
Oh, okay. See, that's one of my favorite parts too. Because, like I said, but I focus more on the robes because I think I like that more than I actually like the sex scene.
I don't know what it is. It's her smut writing. Like,
it is. It's fantastic.
I don't know why she's down here in the hospital. I mean, I know why. I don't know why she's down here. They're screwing in the hospital wing when anybody could just walk through.
I wouldn't have cared.
Oh my god!
I wouldn't have cared. I would have done it too.
I'm like hiding in the back of her mind, like, girl, somebody's gonna walk in.
I'd have been like, let him walk in. I don't give a shit. That's what they get. That's what they get for spying.
Yeah, well, the pictures were like, ooh. I think there was somebody even knocked out down in one of the hospital beds. I think, but this is their first like real encounter.
Yeah.
And it was wild.
Because she's a virgin, I think.
Yeah, she was, and he was trying to be mean about it. And she like stopped him, and then he was nice and romantic. He like held her hand during it. Like, it just had everything. It had angry lovemaking, and then it had happy lovemaking, and then it was like, funny at the end. Like, it was all, she did it great.
She was like, because Rennie was like, no, I know what you're doing, stop it.
Yes.
Like, stop it. I think she even told him it was the first time.
Yeah, well, and I think he knew.
Yeah.
And then she confirmed, and then he enters in really abruptly and like starts going really hard.
He was acting like he was trying to fuck her, let's be honest.
And it's because he knew that she was going to regret it, so he was just going to make her regret it, and she has to stop him, like, don't make me regret it. Like
I want this, don't make me regret it.
Yeah. So this was perfect. It was great. I love it. Again, it's the smut, so it was just phenomenal.
It was great. It is great.
I will say one other thing. The author gave some really great notes all throughout this, and like the headers of all of her chapters. And I think after the scene, I don't think that you read them.
I did not.
So after the scene, I believe it's after the scene when he sets up the scenario where Ron ends up walking in. There was because I think when I'm sorry, I keep saying when the author originally posted these, they did it in chapters. Sorry, they did it in chapters, and so people were in an uproar at this specific scene because they were upset at how he was. And she wrote basically saying like, I'm not going to make him great. And so she did a whole thing about it, but she ended it by saying, long story short, no, I'm not going to make Draco a sweetheart and a hero, not a chance, XOXO, Onyx. And I just love this.
I love that. I mean, obviously that wasn't one of my favorite parts, but when I was reading it, I was like, this is a true toxic Draco. Yep. He's getting really tired. I mean, you got to understand too, Hermione was not picking him constantly, not telling her friends, nothing at this point. And he's just like, fuck it. And he's making every move to kind of subtly, but not subtly do it. Like the robes, for instance, changing Aaron to Slytherin. The, like, making Ron see them together. And in his journal, he talks about that too.
Yes.
Oh, like, I wanted him to see the way she looks when she's with me and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I love it.
Yes.
I'm horrible. I love that toxic shit like that. But at the same time, it's like, I would not want that in real life.
No, but also, we're here because Draco's not a hero.
No,
that's
he's
the whole
not.
point. I don't want chivalrous Draco. And I would argue, though, that he is a sweetheart. You just have to see it through the vulnerability that he's trying to cover, because he does do really sweet things. But at a core, no, he's not a sweetheart. He's not a hero, and that's why I'm here for him. So this was totally in character. I hated when it happened because I felt the betrayal of like, how could you do this? But then it's in tandem with his character, so I'm here for it. I like toxic Draco, so the more toxic Draco that you can give me, I'm happy for it.
And I think at this point, I think Ron was the only one who didn't know.
Yes.
And her friend circle.
I think
Ginny already knew.
I think he did know, because this was after they came back.
They came back. Okay, yeah, because they had the whole newspaper thing.
Yes.
Because she finally said, fuck it, I'm telling everybody. And that was her way of doing it.
He just wanted to really drive it home to Ron specifically, obviously because he hates Ron.
He didn't like Ron at all.
Yeah,
so and he knew that they were supposed to be together. Like, well, they were together.
I could just feel the betrayals on her end, because like, obviously that's your best friend, regardless of if you're not together anymore, and to hurt that person that way is never anything that she would have wanted. So the fact that he even did that, I was also like, I don't know how you're gonna redeem yourself, but then he does.
Yeah,
so.
It's a fucked up thing. You shouldn't do that. But at the same time, for the sake of the story, I was like, yes, this is great. Holy shit, that's horrible, but like, oh man, this is good storytelling. Like,
it was great.
Yeah, it really does have that drama in it.
It does.
For the sake of, I don't want to say lack of story, because there is story to it, but for the sake of the story being mostly about their relationship, you don't have a dull moment.
Not
and most
even
of
a
those,
little bit.
most of the time in the books, when you read a book that's mostly structured based off of two characters' relationship, or two people in a relationship, it's boring as fuck.
Yes.
This is not boring.
No.
At all. It's so.
This is an emotional roller coaster all over the place. It's funny, it's shocking, it's sad, and it's lovely.
It is.
At the very end. The ending I like too. Let's just say that.
But there is that part though that gives me that anxiety.
Oh, that's right. We can talk that, because that's your least liked part.
Yes. So, I mean, Theo, who's a friend of Draco, and he becomes a friend of Hermione. They kind of bond together because Draco ends up leaving to hide out because he doesn't feel that they should be together. And Theo ends up bonding with Hermione, and they're trying to find a way to find Draco. And during this time, they both lost somebody. Theo lost Pansy, and she lost Draco, but he lost Pansy in a more permanent sense. She's dead. So while they're trying to find Draco, they're trying to cast this spell, they bond, and they end up like getting really fucking close to having sex. And
really
it's
close. Like he was aligned up, about to be
they
in.
They were like, he was about to land. Like
he was angling it.
Yeah. I was so upset at that part. I was like, no. I get it. They're both bonding. They have lost somebody. They love each other as friends. They connected because everybody else went on their own way. Them two are the only ones that stayed together.
And he was also the only one that supported her in her quest to find Draco.
Yeah, everybody else was just like, just leave it alone. But oh my god, that moment of them together, I'm so glad they didn't fucking do it. And it's nice though that Draco was just like, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass, whatever. But like, he wasn't mad. He was still really good friends with Theo. But he left. So like, Draco, that's your fault. Like, you shouldn't have done that. But still, I hated it. I hated the anxiety I had from it.
I could see that, and I will say, I didn't hate it as much because I have been introduced to Theo via Secrets and Masks, which is a book I read for Draco but ended up loving Theo in a lot. And so when she was with him in this book, which I read after, I was like, oh. Because Theo's like a side, like an asterisk to my top boyfriends, specifically because of that one book. So when she was here, I was like, well, go get you some Theo.
Not me. I'm like, stop.
He's good.
Stop. Don't do the best friend. Girl, please don't do the best friend.
I should have made you read Secrets and Masks first so he could be there. And you're like, I'm a little interested.
I wasn't at least at all interested. And I'm like, don't fuck the best friend. Don't fuck the best friend. Don't fuck the best. No. I was like, was so upset.
It was a sweet moment. I like that it happened the way that it happened. I like that it almost happened and then they ended up sort of crying and cuddling instead because understanding that it was a manifestation of their loss.
Yeah.
So it was great, and I think it really made their friendship much more solid too.
It did, because like she says, I'm not her, meaning I'm not Pansy, and he said, well, I'm not him, because they were crying.
Yeah.
Oh
and they
my
like
God.
slept together the rest of them, like not slept, but like
held each other.
actually slept. Yeah. It was a great scene. I think she did a great job with that, but
She did,
I could see that it would bring the anxiety out.
I was I was like, don't. I was so upset. I did not like it. I also thought Pansy dying was very upsetting for me, for my mental state. But it was understandable, completely understandable, and it made that ending much more impactful.
And I will also say credit to the author, the fact that Pansy was a POS character the entire time, but then that you care at the very end about her death says a lot about her character building and the turn of events for Pansy, because I also really liked her.
I did. I liked her towards the end. I hated her throughout the most of the book.
Oh yeah.
Towards the end, I was like, obviously there's more to her, and she doesn't really like Draco. You could tell, like, even though she was hanging on Draco, I never really got the impression that she really wanted to be with Draco.
No, yeah, it was all mostly for show.
Yeah.
And I know that I think you had one comment too about canon.
Oh yeah, yeah. So to go on about that, there's a part in the book where they kind of like are in potions class and they're struggling to kind of, Hermione is struggling to kind of hide the fact that she's into Draco, so she's really worried about the love potion making and worried that other people are going to smell that hers smells like Draco. That's not how it is in canon. No matter who's making the love potion, it's going to be smelled to that person's attractiveness, I guess.
And I think she wasn't even just worried about it, but other people smelled it because somebody who was ever next to him was commenting about how the fact that his cologne smelled too much.
Yeah, and that's not how that is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that big a deal. It didn't impact the story. It didn't make a difference.
A minor note.
Yeah. Just so you know, if you're reading, you're like, yeah, that's why. That's why it's kind of odd. But yeah, it's not that bad. No. It's not that big a deal.
No, but it
kind of had a funny story to it because she ends up like fucking freaking out,
panicking.
Yeah,
as one would.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe not Kristen.
No,
I would be panicking.
Yeah,
I was like, why does it smell like this? I'm like, why can everybody else?
I'm like, why does it smell so good? You guys smell that? It smells good, right? And I'd be winking at a drink. I'd be like, that smells good, right? That's what I'd be smelling all the time.
That's so funny.
I'm too much.
I love it. It's great. But I think that wraps this up for our second dive into a Hermione. We will wrap up our third with Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of being in love, which I think is written by Is This Self-Care? Which I love this username.
Yeah.
Yes, Hermione is self-care.
It is. I'm really glad that you got me into the next one too, because I was kind of like, she was telling me it was like a rom-com. So just FYI, when you're ready, prepared for the next, if you're going to read it before watching our video, it's kind of a rom-com. Not necessarily my type of read, but
mine either.
It's enjoyable.
But it works.
Yeah, we'll just leave you with that.
Yeah, it's great. So we'll see you next week for that. Yeah. Bye.